Hey folks, welcome to my world. It is Dominique back here with you, and we are doing our live Q&A today. So right now I am actually jumping on Periscope, and see, the brain is on and working today. So I'm on Periscope right now, and I'm not going to be on for too long because I want to focus on the questions that folks have already written in with. But if you have any questions live on Periscope, ask them right here, and I will answer them on Welcome to My World with Dom on Spreaker and live on Periscope, as long as you ask me your question before the broadcast ends. If you do not, I will answer your question next time. So it's important that you tune in to Welcome to My World with Dom on Spreaker and iHeartRadio. So go for it. Go ahead and ask your questions, and I will be here to give you my best advice. Please excuse me, we're having some allergies today. So if I don't catch your question right away, it is because I'm working on my audio because I am in the studio right now. So please flag me, get my attention, Periscope listeners, and I will absolutely do my best to answer your question. So I'm tuning into the live chat right now on Spreaker, on the Spreaker app, and I'm talking to folks here on Periscope as well. I think you're going to get a better view if I pick my phone up. Excuse me. And so, if I don't see questions coming up, ask a question. Keep it respectful and topical, though, because I'm not one to be trolled. I'm speaking with people on Periscope right now, and if I don't see anything come up on Periscope or on Spreaker in the chat section, I will start going for the questions of people who've already written in. So go ahead, if you have a question, feel free to ask it, and I will do my best to answer. Do I like green olives? I like black olives better. Probably not the kind of question I was expecting, but hey, whatever you want to ask, I will determine whether I can answer. So we have a couple of write-ins here, and again, I'm going to start sharing. I'm going to put this phone down and start sharing to social media platforms so that people know that they can join in the live chat on the Spreaker app or on Spreaker.com. Well, this is interesting. A woman's perspective type of question: is size important to you? No, it's not. I mean, unless you're Donald Trump or something and you've got a micro-penis, then maybe it is, just kind of anatomically speaking. But, I don't think size is actually important to women in terms of sex. It's more about fit, if you get my drift. So if you're hearing dead air right now, folks, I do apologize. I'm just making sure that we share everything to various social media sites, because we do have so many people who are like, tell me when you're on air, I need to ask a question, and I don't want to not honor that request. Okay. So let me know how my new microphone is working to you guys, because I'm using my new Blue Yeti microphone, and I feel like it's pretty awesome. Do I like cauliflower? Hell yeah, everybody likes cauliflower, I think. At least everyone in my house, which basically includes me and all of my animals. So, bear with me as I share this live on social media. Ask me your questions, and I will tell you no lies. Live on air right now. When I want to relax, that's a good question. What do I do when I want to relax? Do I relax? That's the question, really. Probably chill out, swim, read a book. Yeah. No, I'm not going to repeat after you. Obviously, anytime somebody says repeat after me, you're saying something really fucked up, so no. Onions are cool. I actually just had a vegan onion scramble, so hell yeah, I love onions. Not alone. That'd be weird. So, okay, we're sharing our broadcast. And and we've got a couple of new listeners here. Welcome. Welcome to the show. So you guys remember, tune in on Spreaker, the app, or just go to Spreaker.com for the live chat and ask your questions here too. I will return to Periscope as soon as I can because I'm the one doing all of the work here in my little studio. Okay. I think we have shared enough to social media. All right, you guys, I will be back, but tune into Spreaker, okay? Either Spreaker.com or the Spreaker app on your phone or your computer, all right? Hit me up there in the live chat. If you have questions, if you need advice, that's what we're doing. So, hey, that's where you got to go. I'll be back. Okay. So, off Periscope right now, we've actually gotten a few questions from viewers and listeners, and we've gotten a few write-ins, and I'm going to go ahead right now, thank you for bearing with me, and address those questions. Okay, so making sure that our sound is working perfectly. Okay, yeah, hello. Yeah, looks like it is. Just making sure that everybody can hear what I'm about to say because it is just so goddamn interesting. But truly, I do think that folks' questions need to be answered. I've got some really good ones, both from Periscope and from Facebook.com/Dominique Does Life. It's like Debbie Does Dallas, but Dominique Does Life. Or maybe it could be called Life Does Dominique. Eek. So we've got our write-ins from Dominique Does Life, and we have got our write-ins from Periscope, and you guys feel free to join me here on Spreaker in the chat section. Excuse me. And as you may already know, sometimes we have quite a lively live chat session during the show, which is always fun and interesting. You know, I say this right now, and I may regret saying this later, but as far as right now goes, as far as my experience up until this point, okay, goes, I haven't had any trolls, really. I've had just some really freaking cool listeners and people with interesting questions and interesting points of view, and I always appreciate that when you guys join me in the live chat. So let's get to the questions that we've just gotten, and please feel free to join in the Spreaker chat live. Okay, and you can actually chat live on iHeartRadio, I believe, too. Although I know you can definitely chat after the fact on iHeartRadio. So quickly, before I answer questions here, I just want to say that the ways you can listen to me, because people have been asking of late, are via iHeartRadio, which is a fairly well-known app, I think, so people probably know what that's about. So via iHeartRadio, okay, via Spreaker, your Spreaker app, your Spreaker website, and via Facebook, Dominique Does Life. You can listen live right there, and you don't have to sign up for anything to listen. You don't have to sign up for any accounts or anything like that. All you need to do is just click on the link and you can listen. So pretty simple there, I think, right? Pretty simple. Okay, back to the questions here. Just checking our audio sources and making sure that everything is being captured. Okay. Yeah, So we've got sort of stereo audio today, and please let me know how this sounds to you. If it sounds distracting, if it sounds echoey, what have you, I need to know so that I can continue to improve the show. So here, question number 1, and we are keeping everything anonymous, is my boyfriend cheated on me, and now I feel worthless. This hurts. I don't want to be in another relationship if this is going to keep happening. Well, firstly, I want to say that I'm so sorry that this is something that you were put through, that you were put through probably without much input from you at all. It's totally unacceptable behavior, and it is extremely hurtful, and I'm very, very sorry that you're going through this. Now, this answer is going to be, as all of my answers are to various advice-related questions, is going to be really rather frank. And so you should know that about me if you're going to ask for my advice. I try to always be empathetic and to be kind when possible. But I think that frankness is important, and I think that being straightforward is incredibly important. And so my answer to this question is going to go something a little like this. Firstly, while it is absolutely never the victim's fault, not that I want you looking at yourself like a victim, but right, what other terminology am I going to use that's appropriate right now? So while I don't want you looking at yourself as a victim, and I hope that you're not, I will say that I think this may be a learning opportunity. Feel the pain, go through it, certainly, but when you're done, look at what you can learn from the situation. This is a learning opportunity for all parties involved. And before I even go there with that, let me tell you something that is going to sting, but it's true. Don't blame the other party or parties involved. It was your boyfriend who chose to do this. He's the one that you should be laying the accountability at his feet. He's the one who is should be accountable at least, and is responsible for all of this. So that's something I need for you to know and to try to understand and sit with and digest up front. Okay, that is really important that you kind of integrate that as a truth that you're willing to accept, even if it stings, even if it hurts, even if it feels like shit. And I know it does, because I've been there too. But just understand that it's him, and that he's the one to blame for this. He's the one that chose that course of action. He's the one who committed to you, not whoever else, whatever person or people were involved in this cheating situation. They may or may not have even known about you. We don't know. Or I don't know, I should say. You may well know, but I don't. And so, and even I would say, despite what you think you know, if he's told you about what supposedly has been going on, don't necessarily believe him. It's not anyone's fault but his, and it is most certainly not your fault, my friend. It is most certainly not your fault. So let's sit with that, and let's try to integrate that into our reality, right? It is him who is at fault. Now, one thing I want to say here is that I think it is really important to be rather fluid in your boundaries while you're getting to know another human being. Not your personal boundaries, certainly. You should always respect your personal boundaries and other people's personal boundaries. But I do think it's important to be rather fluid in your boundaries with this other person. You're just getting to know them. Maybe don't force that sort of societal view of what a relationship should be on your relationship immediately. Now, of course, if you know what you want and this person just isn't willing to go there and work with you on that, that's a whole nother issue. That's avoidance, and that sometimes ends up with dishonesty, and can even be indicative of the other person involved, your boyfriend or whoever you're seeing, being a narcissist or a sociopath. They will often try to parrot, decent people by saying, well, I don't like to do labels. Well, I don't, boundaries just aren't my thing. And while they're being honest about that, every other thing that they do and say leads you to believe that you're in a serious relationship with this person. So if you're catching those sorts of red flags, I think it's really important to just step back from this person. However, if you feel that you're with somebody who is honest and upfront and who just really wants to take things slow, and you're okay with doing that, that's always the best way to go, in my opinion. I'm not saying that other types of relationships don't end up working, but I am saying that this is the best formula, the best chance you can give yourself for a successful relationship, where you kind of don't allow those societal expectations to dictate where you go next, right? You don't allow those societal pressures and expectations, some of which are just absolutely absurd and just goofy as all heck, to dictate where you go with your relationships and what choices you make. And in that vein, I do want to say that since I don't know you and I don't know your situation, I can't assume whether or not you guys have set up boundaries in your relationship. I mean, do you both feel that you were in or are perhaps still in a monogamous relationship? Have you talked about that? I think maybe at this point, right now would be a good time to just take a step back. But if that's not what you're thinking about doing, then I would say definitely have a conversation about boundaries. And while you don't need to have a post-mortem while you're all hurting, if you are going to choose to break up, I think that maybe somewhere down the road, if you're still talking, it might be a good idea to revisit this situation, if only for your own peace of mind. Okay? So, really, I just want to tell you again, this isn't your fault. And really, I don't know that this is something you're doing because, again, I don't know you, but be very judicious about what boundaries you allow outside sources, society, for instance, friends, family members, to dictate for you in your relationships. Be very mindful of that. Be very cautious about that. Because I feel, in my practice as a lifestyle consultant and coach, at least, I have also experienced the fact that those outside pressures and outside boundaries often ruin relationships and are simply not good for anyone. So, be mindful about how you form your boundaries and what outside pressures may or may not be dictating what you do and don't do in your relationship, okay? And also, next time you find somebody, just take time getting to know them and believe them when they say things about themselves. If they say, hey, I've been a cheater in the past, or, I have trust issues, believe them. Don't discard that or think that they're just trying to be modest. They're telling you about themselves, either purposely or kind of unconsciously or subconsciously, perhaps. They're telling you about who they are and where they're at. And it's really important to listen. So again, I'm really, really sorry that you have had to go through this. Just know that it's not you. And when you're ready, certainly you have every right to experience the pain that you're quite obviously going through right now. You have every right to experience that pain. But when you're done, because while we should sit with our feelings, we should not unpack and live there and let them dictate our lives. So when you're done, whenever that may be, you take your own time and deal with this in your own way. I want you to try and make this into a learning experience and try to move forward more mindfully and wisely as somebody who has now been through this. You get this, and you know what red flags to look out for. Okay, so I am, again, very, very sorry that this has happened to you. And from the way that you phrased your question, it sounds like this has happened in the past. So it sounds like the good thing is that you're armed with information about how to decide if somebody's being real with you and if they're worth your time. You really have some good life experience under your belt, even though it's been painful and shitty and just horrible at times. It's good experience. So hang in there, feel what you need to feel, don't unpack and live there, and then take this lesson and move forward. And don't do anything you're not comfortable with. If this person is berating you or begging you to come back, you just do what you need to do. Don't worry about what they need. They have clearly already seen to their needs. They've clearly already seen to their own selfish needs. So please don't worry about what they need. You take time for you and you do what you need to do. And if this person doesn't understand, then you've got 2 reasons to think that they're not right for you instead of just 1, right? So take all of this as information that you're learning about this person and about yourself, and try not to take on the blame for it, okay? Now, moving on to the next question, we have got an oldie but a goodie, an old classic, if you will. In why do women always date jerks? Well, here's the thing. Okay, and this is going to suck to hear, and I'm going to be honest with you about it up front. Women don't always date jerks. Just because they're not dating you doesn't mean they're dating a jerk. It doesn't mean that they are vapid bitches who are totally self-centered. And it doesn't mean that. It means they weren't interested in you. And that's okay. And that's okay. And I would suggest that you take that as a sign that perhaps you might want to move on to someone else. I also, since I don't know you, I can't assume, and I won't assume, but I will say this. I have dealt with a lot of men who have made that statement in my practice, and it always goes something like this. And I may be a little bit jaded toward this issue, but I feel like I have a good understanding of it. So here's how it goes. Well, why do women always date jerks and assholes? And, why it's not fair. Why can't they just see what a nice guy someone like me is and date me because I'm so nice? And these are the same guys that will end up calling women bitches, cunts, and whores when they don't return their messages or when they don't text them back right away. So clearly, the whole nice thing is a smokescreen of epic proportions. That is not a nice way to behave. As far as women always dating jerks, that's very general. If you were to have asked me a specific question, I could have maybe answered it a little bit more thoroughly, but since you didn't, and that's okay, but since you didn't, I can only say that just because someone isn't dating you doesn't mean they're dating a jerk. Also, have you made your feelings clear to any of these women, or perhaps this one woman that you're interested in? Have you said, hey, I like you, I'd like to date you or have sex with you or what have you? And, what do you think about that? How do you feel about that? Have you ever put yourself out there, or do you just act quote unquote nice in order to hopefully be rewarded later on down the road with the sex? Because that tends to be what, sorry, but guys who ask questions the way that you did do. Okay? So if this describes you, I would say that rather than trying to be fake nice and doing things that you think people might want you to do in order to get in good with them, you might want to actually put on your listening ears and listen to what these people are saying. If women are saying, hey, I'm just not interested in you, I'm interested in someone else. They're being honest with you. They're not interested in this other person because they're a jerk or because they look better than you. They have a connection with these other people, and it's okay that they don't want to date you. I would also say, are you looking at women who are similar to you? Are you looking at women who are supermodels when you live in your parents' basement and are 5 feet tall? Because it's not likely that a supermodel is going to have a lot in common with a gentleman who lives in his mom's basement and is 5 feet tall, right? You can find just as lovely of a woman who is more in line with you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, interest-wise. You can find just as many good women there, if not better women for you, than you can with the supermodels, right? I mean, this is kind of a stereotypical situation. I would also like to ask how you have treated the women who have been interested in you. How have you treated some of the women that you haven't liked who have been interested in you? Is it possible that you maybe haven't been treating them too well? You know, because it goes both ways. So I would say that perhaps updating your mindset a touch and looking toward being a bit more empathetic, a bit more of an actual listener, a bit more real with people in your interactions might really serve you well as you continue in life. So I know that one probably stung a bit, but it is the best advice I can give you, and I hope you can believe that I truly do want the best for you. I'm not here to roast you or, I don't like having to say upsetting things to people. I'm not here to roast you or make you feel bad. I'm just here to tell you the truth so that hopefully you can move past this at some point, because this state of mind is not doing you any favors. I think that you're probably well worth the effort of a woman who has similar interests to yours and who is in a similar life situation to yours. I hope that helps you. And I also just want to remind you that, it sucks to hear, it hurts, I know, and I'm sorry to have to say it, but nobody owes you their time or their energy. Nobody. And you don't owe anybody else your time or your energy. It works both ways. So rather than looking at the situation from rather a selfish perspective, you might want to consider that maybe there are some ways that you could adjust your own perspective here to be more in line with shared reality. I hope that helps you, and I really do wish you the best going forward, and I hope that you'll find that meaningful relationship where you're both equally taking and giving, equally listening and sharing, and both equally invested. Be well. Moving on to the next question. I just want somebody to love me, but I have a feeling I'm going to be alone all my life. Well, that is really heavy. I wonder why you have that feeling. Firstly, why would you have that feeling? I'm sure that if you're a good human being, if you have interests, if you have hobbies, if you have views on various issues in life, I am absolutely sure that there is someone out there for you. But I want to caution you, just as I did the last person whose question I answered, that looking at things simply from your perspective, I'm lonely and I want someone to fill that void, is not necessarily going to get you the healthiest relationship. So I would love for you to open up a little bit on that and to look at the situation from both sides. It seems pretty obvious what you're looking for from someone else, but what can you give to someone? What are you willing to give to someone? What do you think someone might be looking for that you would fit, right? What parameters do you think other people who are out there might have that you would fit very well? I'd love for you to look toward considering those things so that your view of connecting with other people and how to do that isn't so skewed. It seems like you may be struggling with that, and I'm sorry for that. But I really think that a lot of the advice I just gave the listener who wrote in previously can apply to you. And I know it sucks to hear. I do. It does. It stings. It sucks. I'm sorry to have to say it, but you did ask me that question rather than asking dear Abby. She's probably dead by now, but some other living human being who gives advice. You asked me that question, so I am giving you the answer that I would give to my clients, right? I know that you can do better. I know you can strive for more, and I know that you can find and will find a successful even relationship when you are able to move past some of your own insecurities and some of the internal narrative and internal dialogue that are feeling unhealthy to you and perhaps crippling you. Because look, folks, internal narrative and internal dialogue are so incredibly important. The way that you view yourself is how other people are going to view you if they care to listen and find out who you are as a person, that is. If you treat yourself with respect and you put your boundaries out there and let them be known and respect other people's boundaries, then it's more likely that other people are going to, in turn, respect yours. It's the best advice I can give you. So maybe looking toward changing that perspective, that internal narrative, internal dialogue a bit, would help, right? Because, hey, it's a tough truth, but we are all getting something out of the internal dialogue and internal narratives that we have going on in our minds. We're all getting something out of it, whether it's confirmation that we're a jerk and we'll never ever be any good and everybody hates us, and that, even that can serve you, or whether it's I've been through so much that the rules don't apply to me ever and everybody should bow down to me, like a narcissist might think, right? Whether it's I'm a jerk and I'll never ever be any good, or whether it's the rules don't apply to me, or whether it's everybody's always going to treat me this way or that way, that is your internal narrative or your internal dialogue, which supports your internal narrative. So that's the thought that you want to confirm about yourself, and everything you think in your own mind, the conversations you sort of have with yourself, will serve to confirm that bias. And like I said, that bias does serve a purpose for you. It either prevents you from putting yourself out there and possibly getting hurt. It prevents you from moving forward. It prevents you from the potential of being successful because you're so worried that you might fail, which is in fact called self-sabotage. It serves a purpose, and it can really, really fuck with you. It can handicap you. I don't want that for you or for anybody. So please, I'm happy to work with you or find another qualified professional, a counselor of some sort, a coach of some sort. Please find somebody who you feel might be able to help you, because this sounds like it's a real issue for you. And we all have our internal biases and stumbling blocks and narratives and dialogues. And I think yours might be a touch on the problematic side. Perhaps you're just feeling this way in this moment, but to me it almost sounds like you're starting to unpack and live there, and I don't want that for you. That's not something that is going to be at all helpful for you. And it's not true either. So stop torturing yourself. Talk to somebody. Get some help for this. We all have our own damaging, painful internal narratives, but we don't have to unpack and live there, and we don't have to let them rule our lives. Okay? I hope that helps, and I really do want you to be well. You absolutely, when you find your own voice and you put yourself out there, you will find the right person, but you have to reciprocate. And you can't allow yourself to be handicapped by your internal narrative and your internal dialogue. You just can't. You've got to check yourself on that. So I do wish you well. I'm here for you if you need me. If you want recommendations of other people who you might want to work with as far as professionals and mental health, I'm happy to help you. Be well. Now, the next question from our write-in crowd is, I keep having a problem with another woman at work. Everything I say, she thinks I'm attacking her. I've tried talking to her, but it doesn't help. I worry that I'll start developing a reputation for being a bitch. Help! Oh, man. Well, I can tell you that I've experienced that myself, and I think many women have. Perhaps more women than we would like to think have experienced this, and I just want to tell you, I don't know you, but I believe, based on my own personal experience and based on my experience with my clients, I believe that you may be one of those rare people who says what they think, means what they say, and follows through. Perhaps you're somebody who doesn't employ flowery pleasantries and, oh, I'm sorry, but, or, oh, can I just tell you what I think about? No, you probably act the way a man acts at work. And when a man does this sort of thing, they're often considered leadership material or authoritative. Whereas when a woman partakes in this sort of behavior, they're considered bossy, pushy, or a bitch, right? So I want to tell you that, firstly, if you're not pissing anyone off, you're doing something wrong. And if you're not hearing to your face how much you're a bitch, somebody is saying it behind your back. It happens. That's what life is about. If you're putting yourself out there, somebody thinks you're a bitch. But what matters is whether you think you're a bitch, and what matters is that you're being as respectful as possible and that you're able to learn from your mistakes and learn from your interactions with people. I think that the best thing you can do if you're worrying about perhaps the tide of public opinion at work turning on you, I would say, first of all, continue to be genuine. Don't say anything purposely hurtful or disrespectful to anyone. Don't try to bring other people down a peg or anything like that, because that is actually not empathetic and can be emblematic of a real problem in your life where you're feeling hurt and you're feeling as if you have to lash out at other people, and that's not right. So I want to caution you if you're sort of behaving that way, but it doesn't sound like you are. So here's my thing, and here's where my advice might be a little contradictory. Firstly, if this is kind of a normal functioning human, if this isn't a narcissist, if this isn't a sociopath, then the best thing for you to do is to turn to her at some point when you can be alone and just say, hey, don't make it into a, hey, we need to talk thing. Just catch her, I don't know, on the way out in the elevator, wait for her after work. Don't be a weird stalker about it. Just, see if you can kind of accidentally on purpose bump into this person and just say, hey, I noticed that I wasn't included in this last email chain that you sent out, and I am working on that project, so I'd really like to stay informed. Is there a reason that you chose not to include me? I'd really love to stay informed so I'm able to do my job and so that I'm able to help you guys to do yours and, help the team effort here. And, if they don't say anything, if they say, oh no, whoops, that was a mistake or something like that, then give them that one follow-up. Give them that one strike. But if it happens again, and I'm just using that email thing as a catch-all, like whatever your situation is, apply what I'm saying to that. But, if it happens again, let's say that the first time you weren't included on an email chain, then you heard some ladies kind of talking behind your back in the office, and when you walked in, the conversation stopped. And then after that, maybe there's a second time that this occurs, and this time you weren't in on a conference call that needed to happen, right? Well, I think at that point, you need to say, hey, I noticed that this really seems to be a problem. Hey, what's going on here? have I done or said something that was upsetting to you? Have I done or said something that that made you think that maybe I shouldn't be included on this call? I want to make sure so that we're all able to work toward getting what we need to get done here at work. You know, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page and that we're all able to work toward this. And if at that point they still say, oh no, there's no problem, what are you talking about? Just say something along the lines of, you know, I'd love to believe that you don't know what I'm talking about, but this has happened several times. I hope that in the future this won't be an issue, and just address it that way with them. And just give them, give them room and give them time to walk back their behavior. You don't need to always confront people outright and go, you bitch, you know, just give that person time to either say kind of a mea culpa, or give them time to simply walk back their behavior a bit. It's always, or almost always, I should say, appropriate to allow somebody to save face, right? Which is something I learned from my dad, who was in public service for many, many, many years. So it's always appropriate to save face. However, if you are dealing with a narcissist or somebody who is clearly disordered and unwell, okay, if you're dealing with somebody like that, that's when you need to have the quote-unquote one-on-one situation be public. It needs to happen in a meeting at the appropriate time, of course. You don't just want to interrupt and come in hysterics or something like that. But it needs to happen where it's going to be able to be recorded by other people. It needs to happen at a time and a place where other people are going to witness this interaction. That is incredibly, incredibly important, okay? That is just key if you're dealing with a narcissist or a disordered person, okay? So really important stuff here. And I realize, again, that those are two sort of diverging pieces of advice, but because dealing with a quote-unquote normal, functional person is so different than dealing with a disordered person, it needs to be said. That advice needs to be given. Folks, we're going to take a short break, and I'm going to replay my request here on Periscope for you guys to tune in and leave your questions while I take a short break. I will be back with you momentarily. Right now, I am actually jumping on Periscope. And see, the brain is on and working today. So I'm on Periscope right now, and I'm not going to be on for too long because I want to focus on the questions that folks have already written in with. But if you have any questions live on Periscope, ask them right here, and I will answer them on Welcome to My World with Dom on Spreaker and live on Periscope, as long as you ask me your question before the broadcast ends. If you do not, I will answer your question next time. So it's important that you tune in to Welcome to My World with Dom on Spreaker and iHeartRadio. So go for it. Go ahead and ask your questions, and I will be here to give you my best advice. Please excuse me, we're having some allergies today. So if I don't catch your question right away, it is because I'm working on my audio because I am in the studio right now. So please flag me, get my attention, Periscope listeners, and I will absolutely do my best to answer your question. So I'm tuning into the live chat right now on Spreaker, on the Spreaker app, and I'm talking to folks here on Periscope as well. I think you're going to get a better view if I pick my phone up. Excuse me. And so, if I don't see questions coming up, ask a question. Keep it respectful and topical, though, because I'm not one to be trolled. I'm speaking with people on Periscope right now. And if I don't see anything come up on Periscope or on Spreaker in the chat section, I will start going for the questions of people who've already written in. So go ahead, if you have a question, feel free to ask it, and I will do my best to answer. Do I like green olives? Yeah, I like black olives better. Probably not the kind of question I was expecting, but hey, whatever you want to ask, I will determine whether I can answer. So we have a couple of write-ins here, and again, I'm going to start sharing. I'm going to put this phone down and start sharing to social media platforms so that people know that they can join in the live chat on the Spreaker app or on Spreaker.com. Now, this is interesting. A woman's perspective type of question: is size important to you? No, it's not. I mean, unless you're Donald Trump or something and you've got a micropene, then maybe it is, just kind of anatomically speaking. But yeah, no, I don't think size is actually important to women in terms of sex. It's more about fit, if you get my drift. So if you're hearing dead air right now, folks, I do apologize. I'm just making sure that we share everything. And I'm back. Thank you so much for bearing with me there. I had to grab a drink of water. It happens when you're on the air for a while answering questions. You might need to use the bathroom or grab some water or what have you. And at least I had a track to kind of come in there with so that I wasn't leaving you with dead air or having to start a new episode. So, moving right along here. Next listener's question, and this is really unfortunate. I'm so sorry if you're listening, I am so sorry that you're going through this. My husband died last year of cancer. It was totally unpredictable. It was unexpected. My friends seem to think I should be getting over it by now. Is there something wrong with me? Oh dear, no. There is nothing wrong with you. You should not be getting over it by now. I don't know how long you were together, but clearly this person was your partner, was your husband, and there's no reason that you should be getting over it, ever. You will always grieve this loss. What does happen over time, as I'm sure you are aware right now, is that you get stronger and you become more able to deal with the loss, and you find out what your life is going to look like without this person in it anymore. Physically, at least. Because this person was a huge part of your life and will always be in your life. And will always influence your life. So you're never without them completely. You're never completely alone. But your friends, if they are your friends, really and truly, will understand this. Your friends and anyone who cares about you or purports to care about you, if they really have your back, they will understand this. There's no reason that anyone who genuinely cares for you should be thinking that you would be over the death of the most significant person in your life, particularly an unexpected death of cancer, no less. There's nobody who should be thinking that you would be over that by now. That's not right. And if anybody is trying to tell you how to grieve, don't let them. Either just walk away when they come in with pearls of wisdom like that, or tell them that while you're sure that they're trying to be supportive and helpful right now, what they're doing is actually making you hurt and is really making you question whether or not they respect you and love you and have your best interests at heart. And that you're really sorry to have to say that, but that's how you're feeling. And, you know, if your grief is too much for them, maybe they shouldn't be a part of your life. And hopefully they don't expect you to be there when they're grieving, although maybe you're the kind of person that will be anyway. But all in all, you know, there's no timeline as far as grief is concerned. There is no appropriate timeline. You can jump back and forth through the stages of grief at any given time. And there is simply no timeline for loss and grief. You have to let yourself feel what you need to feel. And if people in your life love you and respect you, they'll allow you to grieve in whatever way you need to grieve, for however long you need to grieve. And really, the process doesn't ever completely end, but it does get a lot better. It gets a lot easier to handle as time wears on. But perhaps the people in your life haven't been through the kind of loss that you've been through, or perhaps they're really afraid of grief and of their own feelings. And, you know, maybe if you know that they really do care about you, because you know these people and I don't, perhaps so almost shaming them into being like better friends by saying something like, well, I'm really sorry to hear you say that, or I'm really sorry to pick up that this seems to be the case, that you seem to feel this way, because if you were grieving, I would be there for you, and I would not tell you when you should be grieving, how long, or how you should do it. And so I would really hope that you would give me the same respect. I really am so sorry for your loss, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. I would suggest joining a grief group. I know it's not something that sounds fun, but it can be helpful. Join a grief group. You can join one on like meetup.com. You can join one on Facebook. Join a group to help you with this, with like-minded people. Not because you don't want to burden your friends with it, but because you want to talk to people who understand. And you'll end up giving that understanding that you have in your heart to other people, and that matters. That matters. So I'm really sorry to hear this. Unfortunately, this is not an uncommon story. And I just want to tell you that you're absolutely fine. You're doing what's right for you. There is nothing odd or strange or inappropriate about your grief. And frankly, a year is nothing. If people think you're going to get over the death of somebody who meant everything to you in a year, then they simply don't understand the human experience. Let's be honest. I know it sucks to have to consider that, you know, by way of acknowledging that you have a friend or loved one who is grieving, it sucks to have to consider that, hey, I'm going to be going through that at some point. And maybe that's frightening to them, but they should be able to be better friends to you than that, because right now it's not about them. It's about you. And it's about your husband. And it's about your family. And it's about your close ones. And if they can't understand that, then they are not your friends. But you can try to help them to understand and see how they respond to you, because they may want to understand and they may not know how to ask you, right, to describe what you're going through. They may not know how to ask you, hey, what's going on? What are you going through right now? How can I be there with you? So I hope that helps you. And again, I'm so sorry for your loss. While I don't know what you might be feeling, I've been there several times, losing really close people, and I know how serious that is. And I know what kind of a toll it took on me, and I can only imagine what you're going through. Blessed be. Much love to you, and be well. Next write-in question. I'm being bullied at school. I would love to know what grade this person is in, by the way. Are they like grade school students? Are they high school or college students? So that I could more easily answer this question. But I'm being bullied at school, and I think it's making me look stupid. No. How can I handle this better? Well, by your writing, I'm going to think maybe you're in high school, perhaps junior high. Perhaps you're just a really smart junior high school student who expresses themselves well. But
essentially, I just want to start by saying I'm sorry that you're going through this, and it's not okay. It's just simply not okay. And bullying never makes you look stupid. It draws attention to the person who's doing, or the people even who are doing the bullying. You might feel stupid, but you're not looking stupid. They are. And as time wears on, that whole bullying thing is going to really stop working for this individual or these people. I also want to draw your attention, while you're absolutely right to feel angry and pissed off and upset and sad and what have you, I want to draw your attention to the fact that perhaps this person is struggling. Perhaps this bully or these bullies are struggling. Perhaps this person or this group of people are going through something. Maybe a divorce in the family, maybe a death in the family, maybe some sort of a change at home. Maybe they moved, maybe their parent remarried, right? Maybe they recently changed schools, something like that. So there's always sort of not a reason for the bullying, because like I mentioned, it's absolutely not okay. It's not appropriate ever. But there's always something going on behind the scenes with a bully. Now, while they really could be like a genuinely disordered person, like a narcissist or a sociopath, at that age, it's possible. It's still very possible, but it's not super likely. So I'm going to assume that probably what's happening is something more along the lines of them feeling powerless in their own lives in some way, because of what's going on with their own family or their life, and them acting it out on you. The best thing you can do is just to not make yourself a good target. Just don't respond, or if you do respond, don't be emotional. I know that that's way easier said than done, but for instance, if this person makes a nasty comment to you or something, maybe it really doesn't matter what it is, just a simple deadpan response, and then like drop it, mic drop, turn and walk away, where you're putting the insult back on them, but you're not looking like a jerk yourself. Something like, cool, you must be fun at parties, like, cool story, tell me more. Oh, wait, I forgot, I don't care. Something like that. And just no reaction, and mic drop and walk away is usually the best way to deal with it. I don't know. Like, it seems so complicated, but to me, because I've gone through bullying a lot myself in my life, it's not. That's the best way to handle it. And pretty soon, you're not going to actually care what the bully thinks or says. You're going to be so used to that, not being bullied, but not caring and just being able to drop a one-liner and walk away, that kind of stuff really isn't going to bother you anymore. And you're going to look pretty darn cool when you do that. You're going to look pretty darn cool, and if you're being cool as a cucumber and just being like, cool story, bro, tell me more. Oh, you know what, I forgot, I don't give a shit, and walking away. Maybe don't use the word shit if you're younger, but if you're in high school, as long as there aren't teachers present, go for it. It's a pretty darn cool comeback. Or something like, so if you want to totally get like grade school on them, so's your face. I know you are, but what am I? Something really ridiculous and funny that's going to make people laugh, or something that's going to, like I said, like, cool, you must be fun at parties, anywho, and just like turn around and walk away. Or just like, yeah, cool story. And then just like turn around and immediately start talking to your friends, or start talking to somebody else, or look at your phone or whatever, so that it shows that you're not even considering what they said. Like, decide what way to go for yourself and what's most appropriate, given your own circumstances, whether it be sort of a funny one-liner or whether it be sort of a, hey, F you, buddy, one-liner, right? So I think that's the best way to handle it. And, you know, just don't give them the credit. And if somebody, you know, asks you, oh, you know, I heard so-and-so, the bully or the bullies talking about you before, be like, oh, who? Oh, yeah, that one kid with a weird haircut? Yeah, no, totally. Cool. All right, well, anyway, and then just get on to another subject so that things will get passed back to that person that you really don't care. And like I said, do this enough. Hopefully you won't have to have that experience where you'll have to use these comebacks, but do this enough and you won't be bullied anymore, and you won't care what the bullies or what other people think of you. It's true. And it sounds like BS, but it's true. It gets better as life goes on. Hey, it really does. You become more confident in yourself. You get to know yourself better. You get to know other people better. It gets better. People are not selling you a bill of goods or a load of BS when adults tell you it gets better. It really does. But use those comebacks, do the one-liners, and just no expression on your face whatsoever if you do those kind of like mic drop one-liners. Just like literally show this person that they don't even have 10% of your attention, that your friggin' cell phone, that your hangnail is more important than they are, okay? So it's about body language, and it's about the lines that you drop. And it's about just, you know, emulating that sense of confidence. You will feel it at some point, and it'll come more naturally to you. Breathe. You will be fine. Just make sure that you don't respond. Don't give them emotion. Don't give them a fight or an argument. I promise you, you'll be absolutely fine. And I'm so sorry that you're going through this, because it really is not okay. And this person needs to find other outlets to deal with their stuff. Truly. So moving on to another couple of write-in questions here. So this person I know, but somebody wrote in and said that they work quite a bit. They don't make much money doing what they do. I know that what they do is really important to the community. And this person is just looking for like a place to start marketing themselves. Yeah, I feel like I totally get this. I feel this. And you know, I think that as far as how you can market yourself, I don't want to say anything that's going to out who this person is. Not that anyone's going to like know, but I'll just say this. The way that you can market yourself, I think, is as a consultant. But I also feel like staffer jobs would be really good for you. If you can apply for some staffer jobs, I'm trying to be covert with the way I word this, but I think you'll be good with that. I really do. I think that you would be a really valuable resource as a staffer. And I don't mean some like intern, like an actual legit, like full-time paid staffer. And I also think that you could really market yourself as a consultant and just be hired by, you know, folks who are seeking office, who are seeking recognition, public recognition. You can put yourself out there as that. You really don't need to do much other than just, you know, your brand is established. Like, this person is cool as fuck. This person is out there. Their brand is established. I would say just put it out there on social media. Do you need help? Hire me. Like, and if you're looking to work with, I'm sure you know this, but if you're looking to work with campaigns and what have you, I mean, most candidates are going to have some money in their campaign fund to pay you. So if somebody's running for office, do that. And I would just say, I think you should apply as like a congressional or Senate staffer. I think that would be amazing. you would be like just excellent at that. So, I mean, if you want to market yourself as a consultant, just start online and see what kind of interest you get. And then as the interest builds up and increases, then you can start coming in with like pricing and with, you know, actually doing jobs and what have you. Just put yourself out there, like put feelers out there and see what kind of interest comes back. And then once it does start coming back, like I said, you can kind of start with the pricing and start with what services you can offer. And like, I'm happy to help sit down with you and help you establish that kind of stuff just anytime, like literally anytime my door is open. This person is just incredible at what they do. So like, I have no doubt that they would absolutely kick ass at any of these jobs. And lots of people get paid for this kind of stuff. So somebody who's as kick-ass as you definitely will get paid for this kind of thing if you market yourself correctly. So I hope that helps, but come to me anytime. Like, you know, I've got you. You know I've got you. So I hope. And so, yeah, anytime you need anything, feel free to come to me. And yeah, so, and thank you for like asking me that and writing in. That's like super cool of you to do. I'm looking for a couple of other questions. Let's see what we've got, if anything. Okay. I think we've answered just about all of the questions that people have asked, but I am just double checking my broadcast so that I can see on Periscope if people have other questions. Okay. And guys, if you have anything else, feel free to keep writing in chat or what have you. And ask me your questions. I'm going to try to do this more often because I feel like people often have questions that they don't want to ask anyone, or that they maybe they can't afford, you know, my services. Maybe they don't know if that would work for them. Maybe they simply are really uncomfortable asking questions that might be construed as, in their minds, as strange or what have you. Although, believe me, none of your questions are strange. I've definitely been doing what I do for quite a while, and I cannot imagine a question being seen as so strange that I've never seen it before. Believe me, it doesn't happen. So ask your questions with impunity and, you know, without discretion. Don't feel judged. Nobody's going to judge you. I think that's going to do it. We planned for about an hour, and that's about where we're at. And we're going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for tuning in, and come back with us and follow the show on Spreaker so that you're aware of when we're back on the air. All right. Thank you, guys. That'll do it. Be well.